inside. It's Messi!
A pig's head thrown at Luis Figo, a finger jabbed into another coach's eyeball, and a 5-0 humiliation broadcast in HD. For 100 years, Real Madrid and Barcelona had been rivals, but in the Ronaldo-Messi era, they were something else. Entirely. It became a war on the pitch. But how did it become a war? And what became the most memorable moments of the greatest match on the planet? Before we talk about war, let's talk about what was at stake. From roughly 2009 to 2018, El Clasico stopped being a football match. It became a global event, the kind of fixture where bars in Lagos shut down, where surgeons in Mumbai rescheduled operations, where Argentina and Portugal, two countries that had never agreed on anything, stopped speaking to each other for 90 minutes. Because Lionel Messi played for one team, Cristiano Ronaldo played for the other, and every 6 months they would meet on the same pitch and try to murder each other's reputation. This wasn't normal. This had never happened before. The two best players on earth, statistically inseparable, playing in the same league, facing each other in a stadium twice or more a year. Every football historian alive will tell you the same thing. We will never see this again. The numbers from those years are obscene. In the 2011-2012 La Liga season, Messi scored 50 league goals. That same season, Cristiano scored 46. Together in one country, in one league, in 1 year, two guys scored 96 times. The third-place top scorer had 24. Two men outscored an entire league by themselves, and the gap wasn't even close. It was not a competition, it was a crime scene. But before Mourinho, before Pep, before Messi and Cristiano, there was an older war, a quieter one, fought in boardrooms and helicopter pads and the back pages of Madrid newspapers. The man who started it all was a construction billionaire who really, really hated losing. In the year 2000, Florentino Perez ran for the presidency of Real Madrid on a single, insane promise. He told the members of Real Madrid that if they elected him, he would personally buy them Luis Figo, the Portuguese genius, the Ballon d'Or winner, the best winger on earth. Florentino made one small omission. Luis Figo played for Barcelona. Specifically, he was the vice-captain of Barcelona. Specifically, he had just signed a new contract with Barcelona. Specifically, the entire city of Barcelona considered him a son. Florentino did not care. Florentino paid 60 million euros, a world record at the time, and put Figo in a white shirt. Barcelona's president had to be physically restrained on television. Catalonia went into mourning. And the next time Figo walked into Camp Nou wearing Real Madrid's colours, the people who had loved him 3 months earlier threw bottles at his head, threw lighters at his head, and at one specific, beautiful moment, threw a freshly severed pig's head at his head. Picture that, a bleeding pig's head sailing through the air in front of 90,000 people on live television in the year 2002. The most famous winger in Europe stepping over a pig's head to take a corner. That is the moment El Clasico stopped being sport. And Florentino was just getting started. Over the next 4 years, he bought Zinedine Zidane for a new world record. He bought Ronaldo, the original Brazilian one, the alien. He bought David Beckham, primarily for his face, secondarily for his right foot. He bought Roberto Carlos, anyone with a shirt sponsor. This was Galacticos, capital G, the first time a football club tried to assemble the cast of a heist movie and call it a tactical system. It worked beautifully for 2 years, and then it stopped working entirely. Because it turns out, you cannot win the Champions League with 11 number 10s and 0 defenders. Madrid won La Liga in 2003 and then went 3 full seasons without winning a single trophy. 3 years of nothing. Meanwhile, in Barcelona, a small Argentine teenager with a growth hormone deficiency was being secretly photographed in the youth setup. His name was Lionel Messi. Florentino had built an empire of stars. Barcelona was about to grow one in a petri dish. And the construction billionaire would have to go away for a few years to think about what he had done. He would come back. Of course he would come back. Men like Florentino do not retire, they reload. Summer 2008. Barcelona has not won La Liga in 3 years. The board, in a moment of either genius or panic, hires a 37-year-old former player who has coached exactly one team in his life, a B-side, for 1 season. His name is Pep Guardiola, and he has the haircut of an accountant and the eyes of a man who has personally invented football. In Pep's first season, he sells the club's biggest stars, promotes a teenage Messi to the center of his system, and proceeds to win every single trophy on the calendar. La Liga, Copa del Rey, Champions League, Spanish Super Cup, UEFA Super Cup, Club World Cup, 6 trophies, the sextuple. Nobody has done it since. And in the middle of this season, Pep took his teenage genius to the Santiago Bernabeu and dismantled Real Madrid 6-2 in their own house. The Bernabeu's response to a 6-2 beating was to stand up in real time and applaud the Barcelona players off the pitch. That is how good this Barcelona team was. They were so beautiful that even Madrid had to admit it, briefly, through gritted teeth. Florentino watched this from his executive box, and his blood pressure did things doctors generally consider fatal. The next morning, the most expensive transfer war in football history began. He bought Cristiano Ronaldo from Manchester United for a new world record. He bought Kaká from Milan for a fee that would have been a world record if Cristiano had not just broken it. He bought Karim Benzema, Xabi Alonso, Sergio Ramos was already there, and a winger named Angel Di Maria, who would later cost him a Champions League final. Galacticos 2. Same playbook, same panic, different decade. But this time, Florentino understood something he had not understood in 2002. You cannot beat Pep Guardiola with stars. You can only beat Pep Guardiola with a man who is willing to do absolutely anything, ethically and legally, to win. A man who would burn down the stadium to take the trophy out of the rubble. The man's name was Jose Mourinho, and he was about to make El Clasico the most watched, most hated, most psychotic fixture in the history of professional sport. Jose Mourinho hated Barcelona personally. This is not opinion. This is documented. He had worked there as a translator under Bobby Robson in the 90s, then as Van Gaal's assistant, and he had asked repeatedly for the head coaching job. They told him no. They told him he wasn't ready. They went and hired Frank Rijkaard instead. Mourinho left Barcelona, won the Champions League with Porto, won the Premier League with Chelsea, and then, in 2010, walked back into Spain, dragging a freshly won Champions League trophy and a personal vendetta the size of Catalonia. His debut Clásico was the November 29th match, the one we opened with, the one with the Manita. Mourinho had spent the entire week leaking quotes to the press. He had set lineups, then changed them, then leaked the changes. He had told his players Barcelona were beatable. He had told the world Barcelona dived. He arrived at Camp Nou with what he believed was a bulletproof tactical plan and a squad that included Cristiano Ronaldo, Iker Casillas, Sergio Ramos, Xabi Alonso, and Mesut Ozil. Pep Guardiola took one look at this lineup and instructed his players to keep the ball. Just keep the ball. Don't give it back. Don't even think about giving it back. Barcelona had 75% possession. They scored 5 times. Xavi, Pedro, David Villa twice, and a substitute named Jeffren, who would later disappear from professional football and from this story. Cristiano Ronaldo did not have a shot on target. Mesut Ozil did not complete a forward pass in the second half.
To stoppage time. Bojan's cross. Will it be 5? It will! And Briano joins the party.
Sergio Ramos got himself sent off in the 88th minute by clattering into Messi from behind, hard, on the edge of the box, while the score was already 5-0. Because what else was there to do? During the match, Cristiano shoved Pep Guardiola in the chest. Cristiano then said in an interview that Barcelona's players were arrogant. The man who had just been outscored 5-0 was, in his telling, the victim of arrogance. The universe took notes. And Mourinho, for the first time in his entire managerial career, looked publicly embarrassed. He stood in the press room and said the words, quote, "Today it was easy to lose." Easy. He had been at Real Madrid for 4 months, and he had just been beaten so badly that the only honest review of the performance was the word easy. This is the moment, journalists will tell you later, that Mourinho changed. He went away from Camp Nou, and he made a decision. If he could not beat Pep at football, he would beat him at everything else. He would beat him in the press room. He would beat him in the corridor. He would beat him at the dinner table. He would beat him with referees and red cards and lawsuits and theatre. He would turn every single Clásico for the next 2 years into psychological combat, with the lights on and the cameras rolling. And he had 4 chances coming up, in 18 days, to prove it. Spring 2011, La Liga, Copa del Rey final, and the semi-final of the Champions League. Barcelona and Real Madrid drawn against each other in every competition that matters. 4 Clásicos. 18 days, the most condensed, most violent stretch of fixtures any rivalry has ever produced. Spain stopped working. Bars in Madrid hired extra security. The Spanish Football Federation quietly suggested that maybe, possibly, the players could try to behave. The Spanish Football Federation was ignored. Clásico 1, April 16th, the league match at the Bernabeu. Mourinho deploys Pepe, his Portuguese centre-back, as a defensive midfielder. Pepe spends the next 90 minutes following Messi around the pitch like a debt collector. Messi gets fouled 14 times. Messi gets so frustrated, he kicks a ball into the stands. Messi scores from a penalty. Cristiano scores from a penalty. The match ends 1-1. Mourinho calls it a tactical victory. Madrid have stopped losing to Barcelona. The bar is now on the floor. Clásico 2, April 20th. The Copa del Rey final at Mestalla. Neutral venue. The trophy is on the line. Pedro thinks he scores in the second half, but the linesman flags him for offside by approximately 2 centimetres, in a decision that one Catalan journalist later compares to the moon landing in terms of plausibility. The match goes to extra time. In the 103rd minute, Cristiano Ronaldo rises above Marcelo and Adebayor and crosses from the byline, except he doesn't. He buries it. A header so violent, the goalkeeper barely moves. Real Madrid win the Copa del Rey. Mourinho dances on the touchline. Cristiano weeps. The trophy gets paraded through Madrid on an open-top bus, and then, somewhere near the Plaza de Cibeles, the captain, Sergio Ramos, drops the trophy under the bus, where it is run over by 16 tons of moving vehicle. The universe, again, taking notes. Clásico 3, April 27th. The Champions League semi-final first leg at the Bernabeu. This is the night the war stops being a metaphor. Pepe goes in 2-footed on Dani Alves. Studs up, knee height. The referee shows a straight red. Mourinho explodes from the technical area like a man whose mortgage has just been called in. He gets a red card too. He keeps shouting. He gets sent to the stands. From the stands, he keeps shouting. Messi, with 10 men in front of him, decides to settle the match personally. He scores twice. The second goal is one of the greatest individual goals in Champions League history. He runs through the entire Madrid defence and scores.
Here's the boss. But here's Messi. Away from 2, 3, 4. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. How good is he?
2-0 to Barcelona in Madrid in a semi-final. Mourinho's post-match press conference is a war crime.
Why? Why is it that a team of this dimension, a fantastic team, needs something which is obvious to everyone? Everyone can see it.
He alleges UEFA bias. He alleges referee bias. He alleges that there is a conspiracy run jointly by UEFA and Barcelona to give Barcelona Champions League trophies. He uses the word, quote, why. Why does this happen? He asks. 6 times in 8 minutes. UEFA charges him, suspends him for 5 matches. Mourinho positions himself, publicly, as a martyr.
We could have taken it a bit farther, but with this strategy, we were never going to lose. So why? I do not understand why.
No íbamos a perder. ¿Por qué? Yo no entiendo por qué.
The Spanish press eats it with a spoon. Clásico 4, May 3rd, second leg at Camp Nou. Mourinho is banned. Pepe is banned. Madrid need to win 3-0, with their assistant coach in charge. They draw 1-1. Higuaín has a goal disallowed. Marcelo equalises. Barcelona go through to the Champions League final, which they will go on to win against Manchester United, with Messi scoring one of the most beautiful goals of his career. 18 days, 4 matches, 2 trophies for Barcelona, 1 for Madrid. Pepe banned. Mourinho banned. The Spanish national team captain Iker Casillas reportedly has to call Xavi and Carles Puyol on the phone to try to keep the World Cup squad from descending into civil war. The 2010 world champions, the team that had won everything together 6 months earlier, are no longer speaking to each other. The Madrid players don't speak to the Barcelona players. The dressing room of the reigning world champions is split down the middle by club, by language, by grudge. And Florentino Perez, sitting in his executive box, looks at all of this. The bans, the eye pokes, the Champions League exit, the splintered national team, the trophy run over by a bus. And he renews Mourinho's contract. Of course he does. August 2011. Spanish Super Cup. Barcelona versus Real Madrid. Again, 2 legs, 1 trophy. The first leg ends 2-2. The second leg is at Camp Nou. Madrid lose 3-2. Madrid lose tactically.
Fabregas, Messi, Adriano. Oh, there's the winner. And guess who? Lionel Messi. 2 well-matched.
Madrid lose physically. And in the 88th minute, with the match already over, somebody on the pitch fouls somebody on the pitch and a brawl breaks out. Players from both teams pile in. Coaching staff from both teams pile in. And in the middle of this scrum, on live television, Jose Mourinho walks up behind Tito Vilanova, Pep Guardiola's assistant coach, a man who is doing nothing, standing still, watching the chaos. And Jose Mourinho sticks his finger in Tito Villanova's eye. Replay it, slow it down. There he is, the most successful coach of his generation, walking up behind another man's back and jabbing him in the eyeball with his index finger like a child. Tito Vilanova does not retaliate. Tito Vilanova will be diagnosed with cancer the following year. Tito Vilanova will die in 2014. He will never get a real explanation for that finger. He will never get an apology. Mourinho will, several times over his career, be asked about the eye poke, and several times he will smile and decline to comment. That was the moment Pep Guardiola broke. You can see it in the footage. He stands there, watching another man assault his best friend on television, and something behind his eyes goes out. In April 2012, Pep walked into the Camp Nou press room and announced he was leaving. He cited exhaustion. He said, in his own words, that the rivalry had drained him. He had won everything there was to win, 14 trophies in 4 years. And he was leaving because a man had poked another man in the eye, and the world had decided it was funny. Madrid won the league that year, the 2011-2012 La Liga, with 100 points, a new record. Cristiano scored 60 goals in all competitions. Mourinho had finally, technically, won. The trophy was lifted. The streak was broken. The Bernabeu danced. And then the next season, With Pep gone, Mourinho lost the league to Tito Vilanova, the man he had assaulted, the man with cancer, coaching from a hospital bed. Mourinho was sacked from Real Madrid in May 2013. He had won 1 league and 1 cup in 3 years. The most expensive squad in the history of football, captained by the world's most expensive player, managed by the most expensive coach, had been beaten by a Barcelona side, led by an interim manager too sick to attend half the games. The universe, as always, had been taking notes. After Mourinho left, things calmed down. Not because anybody made peace, because both clubs got tired. Tito Vilanova died in 2014 at the age of 45. Pep Guardiola went to Bayern, then to Manchester City, where he won everything again, slightly less beautifully, because he no longer had Messi. Cristiano won 3 more Champions Leagues with Real Madrid in a row, a feat nobody had managed in the modern era, and then left for Italy in 2018. Messi stayed at Barcelona until the club's finances collapsed under their own weight and they couldn't afford to renew his contract. He cried at the press conference. He left for Paris. He moved on to Miami. And the Clásico, the fixture that had once stopped surgeries in Mumbai, became, briefly, a slightly less interesting football match. Without those two on the pitch, you could feel the air coming out of the room. Real Madrid won. Then Barcelona won. Then Real Madrid won again. The world watched, but it didn't watch like before. The era was over. The 2 billion in TV rights stayed, but the magic left with them. Today, the rivalry has new faces. Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham, Lamine Yamal, Pedri. The fixture is still the most watched club match on earth. The hate still travels. There are still red cards, still pitch invasions, still presidents accusing referees of conspiracy at 3 a.m. on Spanish radio. In April 2024, Vinicius Jr. accused half of Spanish football of being racist. He was, by the way, correct. Several stadiums had been documented, chanting monkey noises at him. The fixture, which had once been about Messi versus Cristiano, was now about a different kind of war, a more honest one. The kind that had been there underneath the football the entire time. Florentino Perez is still the president of Real Madrid. He is 78 years old. He has bought Bellingham, Mbappe, and recently informed the rest of European football that he intends to start a separate league specifically so he doesn't have to play the rest of them anymore. The Super League.
Los 15 fijos que juegan entre ellos todas las semanas. Eso es el mayor espectáculo del mundo. No hay nada como eso.
His final project. The construction billionaire is, in his 8th decade, still trying to build a stadium with no opponents. Mourinho coaches in Turkey now. Then he didn't. Then he did again. He still mentions Barcelona in interviews, unprompted, as if the city personally owes him money. Pep Guardiola has aged 20 years in 10. He coaches Manchester City and occasionally talks about Tito Vilanova in the past tense, and his voice goes very small. And Messi and Cristiano, the 2 men who carried this fixture on their backs for half a decade, the 2 men who made it the biggest event in world sport, will never play in El Clásico again. Not in this life. That era is closed. The trophies are in the cabinets. The footage is on YouTube. The pig's head, presumably, is in a landfill somewhere outside Barcelona. And the rivalry continues. Smaller, less mythological, still occasionally beautiful, still occasionally violent. Still, on a quiet Sunday in October, capable of stopping the world for 90 minutes, even when nobody on the pitch is named Lionel or Cristiano. Because that's what Clásico is, not a football match. A century-long argument that 2 cities in the same country have decided to keep having, generation after generation, with whatever weapons they have at the time. Pig's heads in 2002, eye pokes in 2011, racist chants in 2024. The weapons change, the argument doesn't. If you want to follow the story of the day Messi became exactly what Real Madrid was afraid of, check out our video here.